seeing the hopelessness of the situation and the dark future that lay before the residents of the affected area, especially for the very old people who are actually dying from mental stress, the strain, and strokes from this whole situation. Seeing all of this, Dr. Kublai Singh decided to commence a hunger strike on November 15th, 2012. The hunger strike purpose was to get the Prime Minister to honor her promise. That's all. Just to honor her word to the highway route movement to do a proper technical review of the segment in question. Simple. The hunger strike went on and the Prime Minister continued to ignore it. Now, is this a surprise, Trinidad? All the people wanted was a proper report stating clearly the reasoning behind building that problematic segment of the highway there. After all, no reasoning had been provided to date, and the destruction of people's homes was already taking place.
And go down to point 14, but you're depriving point 14 people and you're just saying Kublai Singh group blocking highway, rerouters blocking highway. This is the general statement that fooling people here. We're not blocking no highway. You see what we're blocking? Can't you see what we're blocking? When all you do come in my piece there now, watch out, I have fig trees, ma'am. Why does plant fig and sell, planting and sell to survive? Yeah, my 64 and change. Who employed me? I never had a permanent job. I depend on all these things to work and mind my family. Hustle, they work. How the hustler? You know how that's feel? And you have so much open land, let me say what not have you. But wait until this disputed area complete. Yeah? I mean, it's only sense. You're depriving point people. You have point people waiting and saying that we blocking the highway here. Where is not true. I mean, I know you're a worker and you probably have a little soft heart in you. Whereas the cops and them like them had none too, but they had to show it that they don't have none. They have a job to do. What happened yesterday? They come and they rough up this man. They went and they arrested him. Yesterday. It's so sad to know just for that. I don't know. I never thought I'd live to this age to experience this thing in my old age now. Where you expect to get your house, move, and you can't say nothing because the authorities over you all the time. They over you. You work all the days of your life and you build something that you feel that you could admire now. All that just going like ice daily. See like how a block of ice just keep melting? This is how your mind keep going on. Ah boy, one day they will come and they will say, okay, you have to move.
Even though Dr. Kublai Singh sat outside of the Prime Minister's very office, he was ignored by the Prime Minister. He was written about at the time in the local newspapers and unfortunately has been painted as a madman by our wonderful press. That is what our citizens now look at him as if he is. These are citizens who have perhaps not had the pleasure and opportunity of really looking at the situation and actually meeting the man in person. It is unfortunate when newspapers cannot be trusted, but very easy to see why when they are actually the people who hold the power of building an entire nation's opinion on subjects or situations, and in this case, people like Dr. Kublai Singh. This is a huge responsibility because it is huge power, and unfortunately that power is most times misused. Now, this is not to say that there are not reporters who do stand for truth in the general mix. There are. These are just normal Trinis who genuinely care about getting truth to the public. After all, there is a reason so many are walking away from that field, right, of reporting. You see, they've been walking away seeing that there's very little democracy in Trinidad. Look at how firm a grip the Prime Minister has on what is expressed via the newspapers and TV. Mass firings. That's right. Mass firings have happened at the media houses, and we have heard that many political personalities have even been replacing radio hosts. Does that sound democratic to you, or does it just sound sad? Newspapers like The Guardian continue to demonstrate this, and so we ask, are you for the people, or is the press only about profit? Personal profit. Out of necessity for swift action, the movement moved to ask for a simple injunction or a conservatory order. That's right, a simple injunction. Now what this does is it would halt the works on that problematic piece of highway until proper cause for the highway be lawfully proven. We need proof, and until the proof be given, stop that highway segment. The proof should be proven lawfully in the courts by proper studies and a proper report. November 29, 2012, this court matter, CV 2012-03205, was heard by the Honorable J. Pemberton. Much can be said about Dr. Kublal Singh's extreme action, but as Malcolm X said, in the past, extreme situations call sometimes for extreme actions. And just because an action is extreme does not make it wrong. You see, this is not the first time a great action has been misinterpreted by the public. This is not the first time a great action has not been understood properly. Many people in our history of human beings have been misrepresented by the media. The two examples I would like to put forth, Malcolm X in America and Sant Bhindranwale in India. Greatly misunderstood by the world, and more tragically misunderstood by their own nations, their own people, only to eventually be recognized long years after their passing. What a culture we live in, who only accepts you when you're dead. Now this documentary has no special agenda to paint Dr. Kublal Singh in any positive light and leave out anything negative. This documentary has no preference to any one side, but the side of truth. So we want you to care about truth. Reform yourself to research the same way that we are researching, so that you can discern what is true from what is false. Reform yourselves so that you can experience before judging, and most of all, so that you can make your own choice. In this battle of truth, it is never simply a matter of lack of knowledge, education, and research. It's never that. I put to you that all the real problem is a lack of heart, a lack of care for your fellow countrymen. Why is that? It's only because people lack heart that they don't spend the time, sacrifice the energy to spur themselves forward into extreme research and to go and meet people, meet situations face to face, investigate the area yourself, rather than rely solely on some mainstream media to paint some fake opinion for you. Self-reliance. We sell ourselves out, Trinidad, every time we choose not to exercise some kind of individual opinion. Every time we go along with things like robots, we give other people more power than us and take away our own self-respect. We need new news media voices. So stand up, Trinidad, and form it yourself. We need people we can trust, new faces. Rise up, youth of Trinidad. Yes! From that rant, we can return to the story, knowing what we know. Now, the doctor was prepared to die for the cause, and it can be said for all of us that perhaps until we have learned to sacrifice and be willing to die for something, we have not truly lived.
I feel pretty good. All my vital signs are okay. My blood pressure is a bit down, my heart rate is a bit up, and I feel exhausted really. My mouth is very dry, I feel dehydrated, and my bones are showing. But beside that, I feel pretty okay.
He's behaving like a spoiled child. You ever have a child, and if they don't get to go out and play, or they don't get to go to the park, they stop, they don't want to eat, they don't want to have breakfast. That is not the conduct that you have in public policy. So, I mean, he's not prepared to hear his mother and father, but he's prepared to hear Mrs. Prasad Visesa, who is somebody else's mother and father. So I think he has to cut it out. I mean, he just has to grow up. He just has to grow up. There is something surreal about every member of this family coming in a bizarre fashion on TV. Every morning, a different member of the family come to say, we support him. The family appears to be a cult. You know, that mother sits down in Port of Spain next to this boy on the ground lying down on 4 Ramine chair, and that woman will not intervene to save the life of her son. What kind of parents are we dealing with?
Most, however, never find that thing worth dying for. Perhaps they did not search hard enough. Perhaps they didn't have life hard enough. Many people like this were quick to judge, and they were ignorant enough to wonder why it is the others in the movement did not join in the hunger strike. Well, I ask you Trinidadians who have asked that question to ask yourselves, how much good would it do for the very people we are trying to save to go on a hunger strike and kill themselves? Especially these people, mostly consisting of older generations? You expect that of them? We should be trying to save them, respect them, honor our elders of our nation. And in fact, we would actually want to let them starve to death before we start taking them seriously. This shows, my friends, the intolerance being practiced in Trinidad and Tobago. Intolerance. Even though it's one of our national watchwords, tolerance, isn't it? That shows you, these people who ask that question are not real Trinidadians, and we shouldn't see them as that.
Wasting your time! Don't come together! Don't come together!
Now, the public's attention at the time seemed to be focused on condemning the hunger strike and even poking fun at it, rather than focusing on the actual serious matters at hand, the plight of the residents and the lack of transparency by the involved powers that be. This shows just how easily the public is influenced by the media.
Don't feel sorry for him. He's a con man. The biggest con man you could find in the land today is Pandey and Kublai Singh. Jointly. And they say of course, how the Prime Minister is killing Kublai Singh. He's killing himself. But he better do it quickly.
Jack Warner was quoted as hoping Dr. Kublai Singh would hurry up and die. But fortunately, Dr. Kublai Singh's strike ended 21 days after without him dying, when an independent, unbiased review of the situation was finally promised to the people within 60 days. And this would be called the Armstrong Report.